Hi, I'm Maresa Bertolo and I'm an assistant professor working on research with games and on games. The aim of this lecture is to introduce the discipline of game studies. After this lecture, you will have a better understanding of what playing games means, as well as how game mechanics can help motivating people. Playing games were a role of great importance for human beings of all ages, from children to elderly. In order to better understand what playing games means, it is helpful to identify a formal definition. Around the concept of playing games there are several ambiguities, partly due to the terms themselves actually wearing different meanings, partly to the actual ambiguity characterizing the game itself. It has an ever-changing and elusive nature. The words game and play have many different meanings, in English as in other languages as well. To play a game can simply mean spending time doing enjoyable things or practicing a sport, as the Collins Dictionary suggests. In fact, the word play, verb and noun, could be referring to several other situations, such as specific kinds of behaviors or reactions, as well as the act of playing a musical instrument and a CD or a role in a movie or in a play. The word game on its side can indicate a proper game, as well as the ability of a person to a specific game, a non-dangerous situation, or a behavior aimed at achieving a goal. Facing so wide a diversity, the scientific method requires for a formal definition, allowing a certain level of communal agreement. To identify such a definition is part of the interests of the scientific discipline dedicated to games, game studies. Scholars and contributions from other disciplines gathered in game studies since the last decades of the 20th century. Looking for a definition, we find a first crucial help in Johan Huizinga, a Dutch anthropologist, sociologist, historian, who published the essay Homo Ludens, the first work to scientifically analyze game as an adult human cultural construct. For the first time, main features of playing games are identified and described through points still considered valid towards a contemporary definition. According to Huizinga, playing games is free and voluntary, takes place according to pre-established rules, takes place in space and time apart from ordinary life, is aware of not being real, absorbs us completely, is an end in itself, devoid of material outcomes. Jumping forward in game studies history, we can define game as a system engaging players in an artificial conflict defined by rules resulting in a quantifiable outcome, as stated by game scholars and designers Salem and Zimmerman in their masterpiece, Rules of Play. In other words, a game is an artifact capable of generating the activity called play. Among the several available definitions for play, the most interesting one, in my opinion, is the following. To play a game is the voluntary effort to overcome non-necessary obstacles. Here we find again the voluntariness already identified by Utsinka. The unnecessary obstacles are the rules of the game, preventing us from reaching our goals through the most effective strategies and means, thus distinguishing the game from other human activities. Let's take a speed race as an example. The winner is the one to arrive first at the finish line. An effective method to achieve this goal would be taking a taxi or slipping into shortcuts. In fact, by acting so efficiently, one would arrive first, but just to be disqualified for violating the rules of the race, which specify with great accuracy the path to be followed and the characteristic of the possible transport means, if any at all. Inside the game system, there are the elements that allow the play activity, regardless of whether they are digital, tabletop, urban or hybrid. In any game, we can identify elements called mechanics. Game mechanics can be seen as possible action patterns, which, combined together by the player's choices, lead to game results. By observing and analyzing games, how they are structured, and how they allow the generation of different types of play experience, it is possible to identify some correlations between mechanics and resulting experience. For example, a game with a time constraint will generate a more stressful experience than one when there is no time limit. Mechanics in games are structured so that to satisfy our instinctive attraction towards the obstacle, effort, success cycle. Being able to overcome an obstacle generates positive feelings. This characteristic, along with a few others, is often used in non-game situations, such as workplace or commerce. Workers and clients are given small tasks and are rewarded when they succeed in overcoming them. This structure is the ground gamification is based on. The use of motivational mechanics, typically taken from games, in non-game scenarios. In conclusion, during this lecture, you have seen how the concept of playing games can be analyzed to better understand it. You have also seen that games have a structure made of mechanics that can be used in non-game contexts to contribute motivating users.